Ending it. Live, podcast. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. Did you know we're live? I thought I'd share that in case you guys weren't aware. This is a preview show for the Elks versus the Bombers. Chazzy is hitting balls, hopefully over the fence with his baseball team. If he didn't get a home run, though, I'm going to make sure he gets extra math homework. So we are joined by, though, Mr. Moore for your money.
Woo!
And do you recall the most dashing podcast host of all, Lane Dashing Dashco?
That's me.
It's a me, Mario.
It's a me, Lane Dashing. Woo.
But so it's interesting here. Most people are calling this a Winnipeg easy win, which I don't actually agree with that. I'm not saying Winnipeg's going to lose this one, but I don't think this game is going to be a blowout.
No.
What are your guys' thoughts?
It's hard to say, right? Because Zach Loris didn't have a first good game, but he also missed the first week, so it's hard to see. He didn't have the best first game back, but that was his first game back. So we'll have to see how he plays today. Maybe tonight he could always just had a bad game because he missed 1 week, and then had to play in the second week there. So now he's back in the fray of things, back in the starting position again. Controversies behind him now, so now he gets to focus on the field. In Winnipeg, unfortunately, Edmonton has been struggling, right? Like they play good, they're doing good, but I think they're on a short week too, right? This is a short week as well, right?
Well, I think when you're looking at Edmonton too, they're just looking to not have the same start they did last season. And they haven't won a game yet, obviously. It's going to be a real big test to see what Edmonton's secondary can do versus this Bombers offense. Now, Nick Dembski, from what I've heard, was a game-time decision. I'm not sure if he's in the lineup tonight. But if you're losing Nick Dembski and no Brady Oliveira, this could be a good opportunity for Edmonton to try to jump on this Winnipeg team that is not going to have the same offensive abilities that they would have in previous games.
For sure.
Sorry, Dan, that take was so boring.
No, that's not the thing. I mean, I don't think this will be a snooze fest. I think it will be an entertaining game. I think Edmonton's going to fight hard to not go 0-4. That's 0-3 at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And where you were last year, 0-9?
Something like that. It wasn't.
So I think, I don't know. I still wonder, I know you love him, Lane, but I wonder how much release Trey Ford has. How many losers are going to pile up before you put in Cody Fajardo?
It's hard, right? Because you feel like he's still the leader of the franchise, and you don't want to kill his confidence. And he showed last year that, at least in that second half there after the 0-9, that he did come in and get this team rolling in the right direction. So it's like,
the issue is you got a Grey Cup winning quarterback sitting on your bench.
Yeah, but Dan, he's young, right? And I agree with Lane here 100%.
They're only 2, not 0-3.
They're 0-2. But it's also the time now where I think you need to let Trey Ford try to get comfortable. And this is a real test to see how he does. Let's be honest here. Edmonton is not a Grey Cup contending team this year. No disrespect to the Elks. So. But I think when you look at this team, though, they're trying to find their recipe to success for the future. I agree with you, Dan. Maybe of Cody Fajardo, you might be a little better right now. But you're not looking to win now. You're looking to try to win maybe in next year or the year after. So I think this is more of Edmonton's defense step up. Everyone's talking Trey Ford. I don't think you're getting enough out of the Elks defense whatsoever. I think their defensive line has been disappointing in the first 2 games, and same with the secondary. The linebacker position led by Nick Anderson, that's been solid. But I don't know about the rest of their defense. We love you too, Ripson. Just, make our hearts beat.
That's right.
But it's just interesting one to see. I think this is actually, I'm going to pull this here too. I think this is also a bit of a test for Winnipeg. They've only faced BC, right? And yes, they beat BC fairly easily. Let's just keep it a buck. It was fairly easy that they beat the BC Lions. But this is a completely different group, right? This Elks team is a team that I would argue Trey Ford will be harder to contain than Jeremiah Masoli.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I would think so.
He's a very gifted quarterback. As much as I get people are saying, well, you need more to Trey Ford, I get people want to see more out of him, but I would also like to just try to give him a little more. Like, Dan, if it's me, I'm probably giving Trey Ford at least 4 games.
Okay,
before I make it
fully by Mitchell, right?
I don't know if it's necessarily you're 0-4, you're not playing anymore. I think it's more, am I seeing progression? In my opinion, the last game we saw progression from Trey Ford. He did throw for over 300 yards. He did have a rushing touchdown. He was using his legs. It'll more be like Edmonton's expected to lose this game. Let's just keep it a buck. Although 3 out of 4 of us said they thought Edmonton were going to win tonight. Your next game,
Winnipeg, did I?
No, you didn't. I was the only one who picked Winnipeg.
Oh, I said Edmonton. Okay.
No, I picked Winnipeg.
Pardon?
I think I picked Winnipeg.
Wait, no, it was you and I, Lane, and Dan and Chazzy took Edmonton. But the bigger thing the bigger thing for Edmonton, I think, will be more week 5 when they play Ottawa, because that's a team you match up well against. So I think for Trey Ford tonight and Edmonton's defense, I just want to see improvements.
Right.
I don't know if they necessarily have, obviously you want to win, but I mean, I don't know if necessarily winning is your biggest concern. It's more just getting better.
Imagine if they did win, it would kind of set an uproar in the West.
Well, if let's say they win and then Saskatchewan beats BC on Saturday, which more than likely, all of a sudden this is a whole different ball. This is a whole different standing situation.
Yeah, literally.
Right? Because if Saskatchewan can keep rolling, as much as they certainly, a lot of things they didn't like from their game against Toronto, they did find a way to get it done. All of a sudden the standings become very sticky out west. Yeah, if Edmonton can get an upset. And I do think Edmonton needs to find a way to get some wins. I think Mark Kilm, as a head coach, I would evaluate him as just being okay so far. He's made some decisions that have really baffled me.
Is he a rookie coach?
He's a rookie head coach. He's a veteran defensive coordinator. Yeah. He's been a defensive coordinator since the land before time.
I haven't been very impressed with him so far.
Why?
Well, we're 0-2 for starters, bro.
Yeah, but you're 0-2 against BC and Montreal. Realistically,
I don't really care who you're against. I think BC is an easy component. I think Edmonton could have won BC.
I think Edmonton could have beat Montreal with some maybe more strategic. They did outscore them in the fourth quarter, 22-10.
Yeah.
So I think there is some upside. And we talked about the magic numbers for Trey Ford. Do you guys still agree with me the magic number for him is 225 passing, or do you want to see another 300-yard game from him tonight?
You might need 300, to be honest. Winnipeg is a good defense.
Yeah, but don't forget, Winnipeg doesn't have Brady Oliveira, right? So we're not going to be running the ball as much. So you would think, in theory, you wouldn't need as much offense.
Yeah, but we also didn't think they would be as good without Zach Collaros. And arguably, they almost look better without him.
Yeah. That's my big question. What happens if Zach Collaros continues to, let's be honest, struggle? Then what do you do if you're the Winnipeg
All the time he's winning, who cares if he's struggling or not?
But let's say
you're back in.
Yeah, Winnipeg's still 2-0.
You're 2-0 against a team that you're 2-0, yeah. but you're not 2-0 because of Zach Collaros.
No, I get that. That's true.
Yeah, Nick Dembski is still registered as a game time decision. I haven't heard anything either way. I'm just kind of looking that up to see if there's any breaking news about Nick Dembski playing or not. Lane's usually the breaking news dashinator.
That's true. I am.
Lane and Blypop usually waits each other for the breaking news. So you guys were sleeping this morning because I discovered that Dallas we signed Big Ben, Jamie Benn, to a 1-year, $1 million contract.
I was shocked by that.
I was shocked by dollar value. Yeah.
I didn't think.
To me, that just shows Jamie Benn understands he needs to take less money to win, and maybe he's Mr. John Tavares will learn the same.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But okay, question for you boys here. We did talk about some of the props on our pre-record.
That's right.
Do you think Trey Ford, now you've had another night on it. Is Trey Ford, you guys are saying no, you think the 225 is too low. So you're thinking he's going to crush that 225 tonight?
I think he has to if they want to win for sure, yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they have a really strong running game, and I think the key for Edmonton is to keep Winnipeg's offense off the field.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think he needs to for 225 yards because of Leak and Wankin for Edmonton winning the ball, because you don't have Oliveira on the other side. So if you can run the ball strategically in Edmonton and eat up the clock by having possession, you don't need those big yards. Now, mind you, that's easier said than done against Winnipeg's defensive line. Holy cow, that's a tough team to do it against.
And see, I'm more about, I think Edmonton's defensive and offensive line just has to be better, especially the defensive line. And it's going to be a big test for them today because Winnipeg's got a really good O-line. However, you don't have Brady Oliveira in there. Now, Peterson has looked very good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think this is going to be one that's really going to come down to which team can just find a way to drive the ball downfield consistently. I think early we could see Edmonton can't have early 2-and-outs.
No.
I think if you're Edmonton, even if they don't necessarily all end in points, you have to have drives. Because if you just go 2-and-out and get the ball right back, Zach Collaros, you're in trouble.
That's true.
You just can't let that happen. So,
and their defense better be on point tonight because, again, Zach Collaros, you never know once he starts slinging the ball downfield. All he has to do is hit on a few of those, and it's 7 points. Just like he can make a lot of 7-point bang plays like that.
I'm fine with Zach Collaros. Once you give him one big play, it gets him going, and then you'll see like 5 big plays after that.
Yeah, 100%.
So you can't give him anything, right?
No, you really can't. Like, it'll be very interesting to see here. I think this is going to be a huge test for Edmonton's defense, and I don't know if you guys agree with me. Edmonton's defense, I think, has been underperforming to start the year.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I totally agree with that. I was expecting a lot better because they basically did Control C from the Argos and Control P into Edmonton, copy and paste. So you were thinking it would be better because the Argos had one of the best defense in the league. That's how they won the Grey Cup, and I don't know. Maybe they need McManus next, but it's like, call Mwamba of retirement. They'll get Son Oakland out of Montreal. I don't know what they need to do, but it's like the players they got were a lot better in Toronto than what they are in Edmonton. Maybe that has to do with coaching. Maybe it has to do with the locker room, but I was expecting better, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've also been expecting more out of this this Edmonton Elks defense. And I think too, it will just help Trey Ford if he doesn't feel he needs to put up that many points.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough on a young quarterback when you're being forced to put up 30 points to win a game.
Like, he won't be playing as desperate, hopefully, right? He'll make some smarter decisions. I mean, when he runs around the pocket, like, his amazing highlight wheel plays, but you're not going to consistently win games and win championships by doing it. I get you have to do that one-off time, like when Chad Kelly did in the Grey Cup and Bethel Thompson got injured in 22. I get it. But to rely on that play, you're not going to win a championship from that.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with you there. As much as I can't stand Patrick Mahomes, you look at all the explosive plays he makes in the NFL, and it's being creative. I think you can win by being creative. I just think you need it where Edmonton needs over 30 points a game right now to win football games. I don't think this offense is built necessarily to score 30, 40 points a night.
Yeah.
I think this offense is built to score 20 to 25. I think that's more in their wheelhouse. So if you can keep Winnipeg under 20 points, which I'm not saying is an easy task, but
no, it's not.
It's also not an easy task to beat Winnipeg. Everyone argues about, is it a dynasty, is it not? But they've been in the Grey Cup 5 straight years, and they've just completely dominated the West the last 5 years.
Oh, they have, yeah, sir.
So if you're Edmonton, though, it's no need to panic yet. Yeah, you're 0-2. That sucks. Remember, Winnipeg did start 2-6 to start the year last year.
Not to put it all on Mr. Daskell here, but I look at all the teams that have not won a game this year. I'm most stressed out about Hamilton. And the reason why is because their big players are healthy. And you can tell that
the running game.
Well,
yeah, they're gonna have no running game this week.
That's the thing, right? And there's already a big gap with the running game that they had. Now they took that away. So I don't know why they didn't go out and get the Dean Carey when he was available. But I mean, if I'm a Hamilton fan, which I'm definitely not, but if I was, I am concerned about that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough game against Montreal.
It will be.
It is definitely going to be, but I think this is a tough game for Edmonton tonight as well.
Jacob, what do you think is bigger going from Edmonton has to come from all the way east to west now, or the short week from Winnipeg? What do you think is a bigger impact?
I'm going to say the short week because Winnipeg's an older team.
Yeah.
Oh,
now everyone's been for years been saying Winnipeg's getting too old. Well, clearly not, because they keep going all the way. They're basically like if every player was Corey Perry. That is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They keep getting to the finals and they keep losing. But no, I think the issue for Winnipeg will be bigger just because they are an older group, right? And they're down a key player and potentially Nick Dembski. And even if he plays, he's not 100%. And Brady Oliveira, I would argue, is your best player on the team. I've argued that Brady Oliveira is actually better than Zach Collaros. I think he is the key to that team. The line and Brady Oliveira is the key to success for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So if the Edmonton Elks can find a way to shut down the run and force Zach Collaros to beat you with his arm, not saying Collaros can't do it. He's a very talented quarterback. But that's what I'm looking for from Edmonton. Force it where Zach Collaros has to win this game.
Yeah. 100%.
Not just pound the rock. Because that's what Winnipeg's been doing if you look at the stat lines from the last few games. Even without Mr. Oliveira, they've still been able to just run the ball really successfully, right? And I really feel Edmonton's got to find a way to make sure Winnipeg cannot run the football. Because we look at some numbers here, right? You still rushed about 84, 85 yards last week if you're the Blue Bombers without Brady Oliveira in your lineup. Quentin Cooley had 43 rushing yards, Matthew Peterson 42, Chris Trevler with 1. Right? And that's how they're able to win, even with, I would argue, a weak game from Zach Collaros going 18 for 25, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's a bad game for Zach Collaros.
Yeah, I guess it would be under 200 yards. Yeah.
Well, it's not even the yardage for me. It's the 2 interceptions.
What?
And they both were bad interceptions. They were bad reads. So this is a chance if you're Edmonton. The thing is, though, you're going to be playing in theory against a much sharper Zach Collaros.
Oh, yeah.
Because now he's had a game.
He's had his phone on.
His phone is on, unless he misses the wake-up call from the hotel and he doesn't get in.
Wake-up call with the hotel.
But this is going to be an interesting one here, though. I'm not necessarily saying for Edmonton this is a must-win, but I'm going to call it a must-compete. You can't get blown out. If you lose by 7 to 10 points and it was right down to the final, like 3 minutes. If you're Edmonton, I think you're okay with that against a really good team. Unless it's one of those things where, like, you had a really good opportunity to win it and you blew it. Toronto Argos last week against the Rough Riders. When you just decide not to put enough players out on the field.
But if you're plays.
It was one of the weirdest plays, in all honesty. But if you're the Edmonton Elks, if you can keep this game competitive, which I think they can, I don't think Edmonton is that far away from a team like Winnipeg or a team like the Rough Riders, as much as their records may show otherwise. I think this Edmonton team, it's a new coach, a lot of new players. I think the defense is going to be better this week. Because again, sorry, Lane.
Sorry, you think it's like a confidence thing with this team?
I think it is. I think once they get one win, this team could get on a roll. I just hope it doesn't take till week 7 or 8 or 9 to get there.
You're not there before week 9. You think about it, you're 0-9. That's half the year done. You want the half a year without a win. Any chances of going the other half without a loss is pretty unlikely. And even if you do, you only finish the year 500.
Oh, what's tough, Brett? Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
Just as long as they don't go 0-9. I do agree with Lane. I think that this situation with Trey Ford is different than the situation with David Alexander. I think you give Trey Ford a longer lease. I would even say you give Trey Ford a longer lease than Bethel Thompson. Than Bo Levi Mitchell. Because both Bo Levi Mitchell and Alexander, I think, are kind of in the same boat, but in different ends of the spectrum. Like, Alexander is very, very young. So you're going to pull him out early to get in Bethel Thompson, who's a veteran Grey Cup winning backup. Bethel Thompson's getting, Bo Levi Mitchell is getting old.
Dan's getting old. He can't remember the names. I'm getting old, too.
I can't remember everyone's names. He's getting old, so you don't want him in for a very long time. Trey Ford is I would say, right of his prime of football. This is, third CFL season. He's probably around, 27?
He's 27.
I would guess, 27?
Yeah.
So it's like, this is prime time for Trey Ford. So because it's prime time for Trey Ford, and what Jacob pointed out is Edmonton's not really predicted to make a deep playoff run this year anyway. Out of all these situations, you're probably giving Trey Ford the longest lease. I'm not going to give him 9 games like last year, but I might give him.
Remember, Trey Ford, though, he didn't come in until Bethel Thompson went 0-7.
Well, that's true.
And then it was a game against, Lane, it was a game against your tie catch where Trey Ford went in there and Hamilton somehow almost blew a 4-score lead in 10 minutes.
That was a crazy game last year. I remember that game.
I just feel with Trey Ford, too, I think you need to give him more of a chance just even for the pure fan base. And his numbers are okay so far. They're not. He's averaging just under 10 yards a carry rushing. And, I mean, he does have 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 486 yards passing.
And he's a nice guy.
In the 2 games. That's not dreadful. Guy. And I really felt the last game he really started to find his groove. Yeah. So I want to see what he does now. And he is completing 71% of his passes. That's a good completion number.
Wow.
You take away some of these interceptions from him. Honestly, I think Trey Ford, it's a very different situation for him. And when you say Davis Alexander, Dan, Davis Alexander's been playing very well. He's not starting this week just because he's injured. But I'm more of a mindset for Montreal. If, let's say, Davis Alexander started falling apart, you got to pull him sooner because Montreal was a legitimate Grey Cup contender.
And you got Bethel Thompson.
I don't know. As if Davis Alexander struggles, you got to pull him.
No, I know. But I'm just saying you got Bethel Thompson on the sideline.
Well, yeah, but Edmonton has Cody Fajardo. You could make the same argument. The difference is Edmonton's looking to build for the future. Montreal is trying to win. They're in win-now mode. Where I think Edmonton is trying to build for next year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
However, Edmonton could still realistically, they're still in the hunt right now, even though they're 0-2. You got BC, who's 1-2, right? Calgary's 2-1. So it's, I'm being called out. Okay, Shades. So Shades messages me today, by the way, just to clear up here. And he's like, how are you putting the Ottawa Red Blacks at number 4 in the power rankings? Number one, I do what I want. If you want a different power ranking, then I don't know what to tell you. But number two, I put the Ottawa Red Blacks where I did because of the way they showed resilience against Calgary. Mind you, Calgary did not have a good game either. But, okay, so Shades, who would you put above Ottawa then? I'm curious then.
Definitely won't be Hamilton, that's for sure.
You watch, he says Hamilton. You know what, Shades? I love you.
All the love here on the island tonight. We got Whipson giving love. We got Shades giving love. We all love you guys too.
We all cry less than Tom Wilson.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, I'm trying to think now, in all honesty. So now I'm actually rethinking my power rankings. Not that I would change them, but more the fact
Trevor's got you thinking.
No, but like who would go 4 instead of Ottawa? So I'm pulling them up again on my screens because I have way too many screens, boys.
Well, is Trevor saying Ottawa should be higher?
Lower.
Oh, he's a Red Blacks fan. Okay.
So, I mean, you could argue Calgary could be higher than.
But Ottawa beat them, though.
That's the thing.
That's kind of where I went, right? And I would argue Ottawa because Ottawa won with their backup quarterback. Where, like, versus the BC Lions, they've really been struggling. So,
and let's be honest, VA was bad.
And VA
well, that's why he hasn't looked 100% confident yet.
And for me, I hate saying this, I can't put Toronto, Edmonton, or Hamilton above Ottawa because they haven't won a game yet.
Right.
As much as, okay, I'm going to say this. I think Toronto was a better team than Ottawa by the time we're halfway through the season. But
yeah,
right now,
I would say so.
Ottawa is the second best team in the East right now.
If Edmonton pulls off the victory tonight, do they shoot up the rankings a bit tonight, Jacob?
Oh, if they beat Winnipeg, they jump up the rankings.
Oh, yeah.
So my rankings, the way I do them, and I do them a little bit differently than the way they would on, a TSN or whatever. But that's why you watch Triggers On podcast.
Right.
And just to bring the rankings up on your screen again, I had Montreal at first, Saskatchewan second, Winnipeg third, Ottawa 4, Calgary 5, BC 6, Toronto 7, Edmonton 8, Hamilton 9.
Sorry, Shade. I agree with JMO on this one because you look at Winnipeg's got so much. Oh, Shade said lower. That's why, not higher. I agree with Jacob still.
Because BC, they've struggled with Rourke and Masoli.
Right.
Which, by the way, Nathan Rourke looks to be out for this game as well. He was only throwing passes on the sideline today in practice. So it looks like it's going to be back to Jeremiah Masoli again for the BC Lions. Or potentially Chase Bryce. He was also taking Team 1 reps, but they haven't announced who's starting yet. They're really high on this Chase Bryce kid. So, okay, here we go. So, here are Shades power rankings. Ooh. The Seagulls, Rough Riders, Bombers, Stamps, Red Blacks, BC, Argos, Tigers, Elks. So congratulations, Lane. You move up one spot.
Who are the Seagulls?
Montreal.
Oh.
The Alouettes.
Oh, that makes sense.
But my struggle, so basically you would flip this Calgary and Ottawa, and you would flip Hamilton and Edmonton, is what you're saying. Yeah, see? Alouettes.
Mm-hmm. Alouette.
Mind you, actually, I will say, Shades, that's actually not a bad list. My only thing is Ottawa found a way to beat Calgary with their backup quarterback. That's
the thing. And
actually, when your backup, Dustin Crum's your third string. However,
they set down
I think
VA really good.
Like Dustin Crum in a game that was pouring rain was actually a very smart strategic move by Bob Dice. Just because he's a quarterback that uses his legs more than his arm. So what gave him the ability. I'm actually really big on Dustin Crum. I think he's a very underrated QB in this league. And if I was a team looking to take a chance on a kid, he'd be someone I'd be taking a chance on.
Take a chance on me.
I also, for me though, Shades, again, I would still put Edmonton ahead of Hamilton. And just for the sheer fact is I've seen more growth from Edmonton to start the year than I've seen from Hamilton. I haven't seen enough. If anything, I actually think Hamilton's been degressing, not progressing.
I hate to say it, but yeah, I mean Edmonton's 0-2, but they somehow look better. They look like how they did at the end of last year. Hamilton started really bad last year and ended the year on a very high note. So I was hoping to see them come out in the beginning of that high note, and they haven't. They got back to the beginning of last year, unfortunately.
You were not hoping for that, Dan, as an Argo fan. That is a lie.
Well, no, but I mean just for the good of the game, right? Yeah. I mean, for the good of the game, you want all 9 teams to be as even as possible, right? Not exciting, but it's good for the league.
And it's just what bothers me is Hamilton. Now, mind you, you could argue Hamilton has had a tough schedule to start, going Calgary and then Saskatchewan and now Montreal. Hamilton's real test, I hate to say it, will be when they play Toronto on July 4th. That'll be Hamilton and Toronto, a big test for both teams to sort of see where they stack up. However, from what we're hearing, Chad Kelly will be back for the game on the 4th. I don't believe Kelly's going to play this Sunday in Ottawa, unfortunately.
No.
But at the same time, Arbuckle was not the reason why Toronto lost their last game.
Well, that's the thing. You said off camera, Jacob, Arbuckle's leading for league in passing. So everyone's going to point the finger and say they lost because of Arbuckle, but I don't think he's really cost. He hasn't been the solution, but he hasn't been the problem either.
Yeah, I do agree with Shades. It is wild that they won that game against the Stamps for the Red Blacks. But I think the real test for Ottawa will be against Toronto coming up this Sunday, because I think Toronto is going to be a very motivated squad after what happened, how they lost that game in Saskatchewan, and then being ripped apart by Ryan Dimwitty in the press conference. Right. And it is Hamilton. You are right. Hamilton is one of those teams, unfortunately, especially for Lane. He's a Leafs and a Ticats fan. I'm just so glad he's not a Cowboys fan too. But you're looking at Hamilton, and they have not been able to get. The weird thing is with Hamilton, on paper, this team should be good.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
So they deserve lower. So would you like Ottawa and Hamilton to be ranked 10th and 11th? A high school football team can beat them. By the way, you'd be surprised how good some of the junior A football is here in Canada and NCAA for people who don't really watch it. And Shades, I do agree with you here. The Argos do desperately need a win, because especially for Ottawa, since they got that surprise win against Calgary, if you're Ottawa and you win this, you go up to 2-2. All of a sudden and let's say Hamilton, obviously if they beat Toronto would lose going 0-4, and Hamilton against Montreal, realistically, they'll probably lose that one against Montreal. All of a sudden, Ottawa is putting on a decent hold to second in the East.
Yeah.
So, which would be crazy if they can do that without Drew Brown being healthy.
It would be.
I mean, for Ottawa, if you can go 500 until Drew Brown is back, you're happier than a pig and poop.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's like Toronto last year when Chad Kelly was injured and they managed to go 5-4.
Mm-hmm.
Not injured, sorry, suspended. Then they were able to just get enough, right? Get enough.
As much as we agreed with it when it happened, you think about like Cameron Dukes got them to our record last year, and now you don't have them, and they haven't won.
No, but you had to pick Arbuckle over Dukes. Like Arbuckle just came off the Grey Cup MVP. And I think, actually, I put some of the blame on Ryan Dimwitty for Arbuckle's struggles at the beginning of the year. He didn't open the playbook enough for him.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Because Dimwitty and Arbuckle are good friends.
Yeah, they get more than 3 wins before August. I'm blown away. The Red Blacks, that is. And just during the second one, that's what Shades is saying here. And the thing is, I don't even think Drew Brown's even, participating in practice. I don't even think he's close. And I'm sorry, Matthew Schultz is not the guy. I think it's got to be Dustin Crum because at least
I was shocked how bad he was.
Yeah, I was too. But we're going to have to go very shortly because this game's actually pretty much just about to start. But quickly before we go, who's taking it tonight, Edmonton or Winnipeg? I'm going to go around the room one more time. Time to celebrate. Dan, who are you taking?
I'm changing. I'm going to go Winnipeg.
Ooh, flip-flop, Dan. I'm just kidding. Flip-flop.
Lane?
I got a gut feeling this time to be Winnipeg. Sorry.
I think it's going to be Winnipeg, too.
I'm going to be boring here. I also think it's going to be Winnipeg, but I'm going to keep it a buck here and say I am cheering for Edmonton. I like this Edmonton team. I like Trey Ford. I like Royce Mechie and Jake Seresna and Robbie Smith, although I don't know why they made him the highest paid defensive lineman in the CFL. I think that was insane, but I do love him.
He's a good dude. I like him.
But thank you very much, everyone, for watching the Streakers On podcast. I'll get more Streakers On content. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias. Winnie the Pooh didn't know what to do, got a honey jar stuck on his nose.
Nose!
Oh my gosh, I was going to say poor Lane in his ears. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We will see you again at some point over the weekend. I'll make sure we put out a post much sooner. I apologize. It got out late for people who weren't able to get to us right away tonight. But don't worry, we will be back, and we'll be back with a vengeance.
Post game?
Ooh. Now, Shades, when he says love Ford, I hope maybe he means Trey Ford, maybe he means Ford Motor Company. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'd say he means Trey Ford for this episode, but yeah.
But thank you very much, everyone. Screw it. We'll be back for a pulse game, at least. Dan and I will be. Lane might be in bed. He's a sleepy dude. He needs his dashing sleep.
Yeah.
He needs his beauty sleep, but keep looking gorgeous.
Don't for everyone on the podcast, don't spend 12 hours at a beach because it can overwhelm you.
I bet.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys for the post game.
See ya. Bye-bye.